Thank you, Magnus. Thank you, Vance, for inviting us here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's already almost 1 o'clock, but I think for Spain, this is still considered early morning. My co-authors, Barbara and Miha, are here in the audience. So they let me do the talking, and I let them do the working. So that's a nice way to split the tasks. Well, we are talking here a little bit about a possible future Carpathia National Park, which is a private conservation initiative. We are a group of international conservationists and philanthropists. We are some of the people on the ground, but there is a much wider network behind it. Some of our network are here in the audience. There's the Frankfurt Zoological Society, there is Wild Europe behind it, and a number of other people that have a long-standing experience in conservation. Total, I think we are covering experience of 5 different continents. What the principal goal of our project is to create a new wilderness reserve in the southern Carpathian Mountains, a wilderness reserve that is based on public and private financing. I mean, the problem of the economic crisis, of course, government budgets for conservation are very low now all over Eastern Europe. In Romania, it's very, very low. So there's a strong need for private investments into that direction. We want to conserve what is still there. We want to restore what needs to be restored in terms of the natural ecosystem, and it should be for the benefit of both biodiversity and the local communities. Now, in Europe, it's always difficult to create larger areas of wilderness. Here in the Carpathians, we still have the possibility to go for areas that could be large enough to support significant numbers of large carnivores and even to allow evolutionary processes to happening. We're doing that by buying land, by protecting the land, and by managing forests and natural grasslands. Now where are we? You see the map of parts of southeastern Europe. We're in the arch of the Carpathians in the southern part. We are located in the southeastern part of the Fagarash Mountains, for those of you who are familiar with the situation. Now, why are we doing that? Romania has a history of very, very beautiful forests, of a lot of wildlife. Romania is known as the stronghold of European large carnivores. But in 2004, the Romanian government passed a law that land that had been, or forests that had been nationalized during communism would be restituted back to the former owners or to their heirs. That resulted that in total of 2/3 of the Romanian forests approximately got from state ownership into new ownerships, about 1/3 to private owners and 1/3 to communes. Now that had a major effect, and that was that private individuals that got forests back, they often didn't know what to do with these forests because they were living in cities. They had no more personal relation to these forests, so they actually were not interested in having a piece of property. They wanted to have the money, so they sold it to logging companies. The logging companies went in and clear-felled huge areas of forests. This is a picture that is unfortunately now easy to spot all over the Romanian Carpathians. I could show you another 10 pictures like that, where whole mountainsides or even whole valleys are completely cleared. There is no real government action towards that, so this is a very, very severe situation that we're facing. But at the same time, there is still a lot of forest which is very, very beautiful, which is very, very pristine. And so the idea was, if there is this situation of changing ownership, we might as well participate, buy forests, and then put them into complete protection and conservation. The principles is that where forests are still pristine, where there's a natural ecosystem. We will try to protect these forests in perpetuity, get a legal status of protection on them, and where forests are degraded, either where they had been already cut or where forests have been altered in their composition throughout the last century by having mixed forests converted into spruce monocultures, that we would try to convert them back to their original species composition. Now we are trying to get the highest international standards for protected areas in what we're doing. We need to talk about forests. Of course, we need to talk about alpine grasslands. We need to talk about the aquatic systems, and we need to talk about wildlife, because all these four components require individual approach, because there's different owners, there's different legal situations, and we need to be active on all these ones. Unfortunately, in Romania, it's not enough to just be the owner of the property. You also need to have the ownership of the hunting rights, which is not linked to the land ownership. So we have started this project about 6 years ago. We had a short presentation on the WILD10 conference in Mexico. What have we been doing so far is we have been able to buy approximately 13,000 hectares of forests that we are completely protecting. We have not cut a single tree in there. We have now funding secured for approximately another 20,000 hectares. So we're getting to something that, at least, you know, under European conditions already is a significant size of land. We have a number of Natura 2000 sites in the area, and we have managed to achieve through our foundation the administration rights for these Natura 2000 sites. We have leased a first hunting concession of 15,000 hectares in our area. We are hopefully being able to get another 10,000 hectares in a very short time. We had to establish a hunters association for this reason, and we are the only hunters association in Romania that has never fired a shot so far. And now we have also received financial aid from the European Commission. We have a 5.8 million euro Life Plus project that we are using to do the first steps in terms of environmental restoration. We started this project in 2012, and I just would like to show you a few of these activities that we're doing in relation to this Life project. First of all, we were able to buy part of our overall forests that we have bought so far through this Life project. So that included 200 hectares of pristine forests, that included 1,000 hectares of managed forests, that included 400 hectares of clear-felled areas for restoration. So we were very grateful that there is the first time now public money available to buy up forests and for conservation. Where we have these degraded areas where clear cuts have happened immediately after 2004, we're going in, we're doing an assessment to see what kind of regeneration is there, because we don't want to have, again, just a spruce forest happening there. So we want to have the original tree composition. So we're trying to encourage natural regeneration wherever it is possible. If it's not possible, then we're trying to do a mixture of sowing and replanting. And the idea is to get back into a mixed forest that represents everything that used to be there at some point in time. The second thing is that throughout the last century, throughout the 20th century, a lot of these mountain forests have been cut once and then transformed into spruce monocultures. So we're going in there, we're trying to cut holes into it and get a mixture of the original tree composition back in. Luckily, there is other parts of Europe, like the Austrian national parks, Kalkalpen and Gesäuse, who have already a lot of experience. So we went there to look at these projects, and we hope we can do it in a way that this goes quick and relatively well. Then we have along the rivers, also along the streams, we have unfortunately as well a lot of spruce that has been planted there. we're trying to get this spruce out and get back to the riparian elder galleries. They are very, very important habitats on a European level. They don't exist anymore in many countries in a way that they should. And we think we can restore many, many dozens of kilometers of these riparian elder galleries in the medium term. It's sometimes quite funny if you, or not funny, it's sad actually, if you go into the back of these mountain valleys, you know, where you feel like you're in a really, really wild place, and then you see a place like that where these mountain streams have been channeled into concrete river structures. So we're trying to remove them, get back to natural river systems. That is, of course, not very easy because you have to overcome a lot of bureaucracy. Also, these concrete structures are in the books of the Forest Service, so you have to, you know, get through all this political and bureaucratic hassle to overcome that. But we hope that, with the, especially with the help of the European Commission, we can do that. Another thing that we have to do is wildlife restoration. Unfortunately, over the last 15 years, at least in our area, I'm pretty sure that this is happening in other parts of Romanian Carpathians as well. The wildlife populations have been decimated dramatically. So the official figures of bears and chamois and wolves and whatever should be there are probably by far not there as they are officially reported. In our hunting concession that we took over, the official figures are 160 chamois in the alpine areas. Our monitoring concludes that there's maybe 25 left. So there's a big gap between reality and the official figures, and we have to overcome that, and we have to install proper monitoring and then restoration measures. And our first step is to stop all hunting activities and try to do a very intensive poaching control. Now, what is our big vision? I mean, we're now at the moment covering an area with our activities of about 60,000 hectares, but the Fagarash Mountains are much bigger. They're very, very wild, and they actually have the potential to become something that could even be sort of on a magnitude, or at least of an importance, of a European Yellowstone. This is a vision that we have for 20 years from now. This is something where we're trying to get the political support, and that could really put Romania and the Romanian Carpathians on the international map. Now, what are the benefits for Romania of this project? Because it's always, you know, whenever we talk to politicians, that's the first question. Well, what benefits does it bring? It is of course, if something like that would happen, and there would be, the Fagarash Mountains would be an icon for wilderness in European terms, then it would be also an attraction for national and international tourism. So it would bring money into the country, and how that can be done we'll hear in the next presentation. Then there will be international public and private funds, which of course will eventually end up in the local communities. As an example, in 2013 now, Romania did not manage to acquire a single or achieve a single life project from the European Union. There would be about 12 million euro available, and Romania didn't manage to get a single project. So through our activities, we're able to also attract these funds. And I mean, our donors have invested so far about 40 million euro into the country, and this is just money that goes into the conservation and into local communities by the end of the day. So we are also providing services and jobs. We have already 19 employees now, so we are getting to be an important employer in the region, and of course then once the other activities start, there will be much more economic input through that. Another thing, I mean, Romania is within the European Union always considered as a poor country. A lot of people combine Romania with misery, with decayed landscapes, with orphanages and so on. So that would be something that Romania could really be proud of on a European term. At the same time, Romania needs to fulfill a number of EU objectives. With our private initiative, we could help the Romanian government to fulfill part of these objectives. And last but not least, with such a project, we could give a good example. For other protected areas in Romania, we are trying, or we will be building a training facility there as well, so that we have an effect way beyond our own project area. Now, I mean, we have heard in the last couple of days a lot of fantastic projects from all over the world, and there was always talking about millions of hectares and even partially millions of square kilometers. So I'm very much aware that what we're doing there does not make a big difference on a global scale. But it does make a difference for the bears that live there, it does make a difference for the trees that live there, it does make a difference for the birds and for the insects and for whatever else is there. So I think this is what we have to think about. Some areas we simply can't do things on a huge scale anymore, but we can always make a local difference, and this is what we're trying to do. Our message is also, especially in Eastern Europe, where due to the economic crisis, the government budgets for conservation are even more marginal than they used to be before. But at the same time, if you read the papers, the private wealth is on record highs. Then I think these people that have the financial resources, here is a fantastic opportunity to get involved and do things that have a long-lasting effort, a long-lasting effect, and that can really change things. And people like us on the ground, I think we have the task to go out and try to implement these projects. Thank you.